Aloha and good morning everyone from San Francisco. Today we're continuing our journey westward to the Hawaiian Islands with a 5-hour flight across the Kona on United's 777-200. It's always an exciting time going back to the islands and I'm glad you're joining me, so with that said, let's go fly. Our journey resumes in San Francisco's Terminal 3, where after arriving at Concourse E from Indianapolis, it was an easy walk across to Concourse F to catch our connecting flight. Terminal 3 is currently undergoing renovations and, for the time being, temporary connectors have been built to continue facilitating connections both within T3 and also to the international terminal. And speaking of, San Francisco is a much busier international airport than I previously thought. The airport currently serves 44 international airlines, which is more than the 37 serving Chicago O'Hare. SFO is a massive trans-Pacific gateway, and impressively enough, its busiest international route is not London Heathrow, Toronto, or Cancun like many other top US airports, but actually Taipei, Taiwan, with 4 airlines combining for over 1.3 million passengers served on this route last year. And while this United 777 is only going to Honolulu, San Francisco is the airline's primary trans-Pacific hub with 17 nonstop routes, 2 of which are seasonal. Unfortunately, because of Russian airspace closures, United's never been able to launch any nonstop routes between SFO and India, which is a huge market from the Bay Area. That's also primarily why this is one of Air India's busiest US destinations, as the airline serves not only Delhi but also Mumbai and Bengaluru. And because of Pakistani airspace being closed for all Indian aircraft, the Mumbai and Bengaluru flights currently stop over in Kolkata, but only for refueling. Our aircraft across the Kona this morning is November 212 Uniform Alpha, one of 19 non-ER 777-200s in the fleet, and one of 23 with a high-density domestic configuration. The 19 non-ER 777s have 364 seats, the most of not just any United aircraft, but also of any commercial aircraft operating revenue service in the US. For this flight, I'm in seat 49A all the way in the back. I've covered this cabin before with the seats having a personal device holder along with the usual tray table, seat pocket, and decent legroom. I do appreciate that at least on wide-body flights to Hawaii, United offers blankets in economy, but for whatever reason, no pillows, and Delta does the exact same thing. Now, because of the fuselage curvature, the last few rows have 2 seats on the sides as opposed to 3, and this gives you extra space to store belongings and also stretch out. I also have to add, this plane was on the ground for over 10 hours after arriving from Honolulu the previous night, so it was annoying to see random crumbs from the previous flight still littered across the cabin. Anyway, instead of them being on the overhead panels, the passenger service controls are in the armrests, and power outlets are found between seats.
Whenever the seatbelt sign is on, please take your seat and fasten your seatbelt low and tight across your lap. Remember, they may be behind you. If you evacuate the aircraft, exit path lights on or near the floor will guide you to an exit. So we do need everyone in their seats in order to complete the safety check. Everyone safety, leave all carry-on bags behind. Please refer to the safety card to your seat for the operation of the exit doors on the aircraft. It's also unlikely, but if necessary, oxygen masks will drop from above your seat and from the restroom ceiling. If a strap appears and you cannot reach the mask, pull down on the strap to access your mask. Firmly pull the mask, extend the plastic tube, and start the flow of oxygen. Please place the mask over your nose and mouth, slip the elastic band over your head, and tighten. If there's a strap, remove it from around the pouch, tear the pouch open, remove and unfold the vest, slip it over your head, wrap the belt around your waist, and secure it to the buckle in front, pull the loose end to tighten. Just before leaving the aircraft, inflate the vest by pulling down sharply on the red tab or by blowing into the tube.
long after reaching cruising altitude, mandatory declaration forms for entering the state of Hawaii were distributed and then later collected by the crew. Overall, the seat was fine for this near 5-hour flight, but I will say, while the legroom in economy is decent, I can imagine it would start feeling pretty tight, especially with the bag in front. But in these back rows with just 2 seats, having the extra side space was pretty clutch because after putting my bag there, I had a little more room to stretch out. Now, this flight went out almost completely full, and another fun fact, United is the only US airline with a dedicated fleet of high-density planes for busy domestic routes, including those to Hawaii. Now, unfortunately, while the 19 non-ER 777-200s have in-flight Wi-Fi, they don't have seatback entertainment, unlike the 4 domestic 777-200ERs, which have both. Still, as long as the Wi-Fi is working, there's no shortage of content to keep you busy, but I would imagine that many uninformed passengers, especially those flying these 777s on the longer Hawaiian routes from Houston and Denver, would be disappointed. And speaking of those longer Hawaiian routes, I imagine there is some sort of meal service. However, at least on flights from the West Coast, complimentary offerings are still the same ones that you get on normal domestic flights. However, there are specific paid food items that are available for purchase exclusively on flights to Hawaii, which can be found in the in-flight menu. Now, here's something I've been waiting to show you all. Back in 2021, I found this vintage United Airlines Hawaii postcard at a local antique store back home in Illinois. Ever since I found this, I've been waiting for the next time I flew United back to the islands so I could bring this on board. Unfortunately, I didn't have a paper boarding pass from this flight, so I simply wrote down the date and basic details from this flight to make it some sort of souvenir. This postcard dates back to the 1970s when United operated the Friendship services. Specifically, the Friendship flights to Hawaii were on 747-100s to not just Honolulu but also Hilo, which is crazy considering that airport no longer sees wide-body passenger service. In fact, United's first ever 747 flight was in 1970 from San Francisco to Honolulu. 47 years later, when United retired the 747-400, the final flight was also San Francisco to Honolulu. And that 747-400 operating the last flight had special 747 Friendship decals as a reference to the glory days of the 747-100s. Soon enough, we began our descent, and our approach brought us past the northern tip of the Big Island before turning base and landing on runway 17. Sit back and enjoy the amazing views as we arrive in Kona on this beautiful Hawaiian morning. one-way ticket from Indianapolis to Kona was just under $278, and for context, I booked a separate one-way ticket on Hawaiian and Alaska for the journey back to Indy. Overall, a smooth and pleasant flight this morning, and of course, I'll never pass up the chance to fly a 777. And given these are aging planes, United will be replacing their domestic 777s with 787-10s, and the internationally configured 200ERs will be replaced with A350-900s. While no set retirement dates have been given, these aircraft are slowly approaching the end of their careers, especially given the oldest examples, one of which I flew last year, are over 30 years old and among the first 777s ever built.
What a good trip, good quality time. Yes, another one for the books. Okay. All right, buddy. Good. Yeah, thank you so much, and thanks again for everything. That was so much fun.
And welcome to Kona, where we have reached the end of our journey and also this video. Mahalo for joining me today, and stay tuned as I am excited to share more videos from this trip, which include inter-island flights on Southwest and also our flights back home on Hawaiian and Alaska. Until then, aloha for now, and see you all very soon.